These days, when we get into an automobile, seat belts, shoulder belts, airbags, and child safety seats are things we take for granted, but they weren't always there. Somehow, though, I and every other kid I knew made it to adulthood without any safety features at all. Part of the reason was the cars back then were built like tanks, and there were far fewer of them to bang into one another. Before we go any further, I want to make it clear that I am not advocating for the removal of any safety features or any regulations. Far from it. In fact, I shake my head in wonder at some of the things I got away with back then that would give me pause today. Part of my job at the cut rate food market, my first job, was to ride along on the delivery route and carry in the groceries. Later, I would take over the driving myself, but on those early trips, the store owner Melvin was sometimes the driver, but more often than not, it was his wife Dot. Some of the roads we had to travel were little more than rutted paths, but Dot was fearless, and I quickly learned that when she said hang on, she meant it. The delivery vehicle was an old white panel truck, and when we were traveling the city streets, my usual seat was at the rear, seated on the open tailgate with my feet dangling just inches from the pavement. That way, when we stopped, all I had to do was grab the bags or boxes, run them to the house, and return. I'd bang on the side of the truck to let Dot know I was seated again, and off we'd go. One family we delivered to lived on top of a high hill. The road was a gravel path just wide enough for one vehicle, cut into the hillside. It went up at about a 40-degree angle until about halfway up, where there was a hairpin turn and a 60-degree switchback. When Melvin was driving, he'd leave the truck in first gear and slowly negotiate the turn, not Dot. When I rode with her, she'd pull over and tell me to get up front with her. Hang on, she'd yell and floor the gas pedal. We'd build up speed as we approached the turn, and then the back end of the truck would swing around as we entered the switchback. Tires spinning, gravel flying, the truck would literally climb the bank on the driver's side. Only our speed kept us from tipping over and rolling back down the steep hill. There was no power steering on that old truck, and I can still remember the set of Dot's jaw and the muscles on her arms standing out like steel cables as she wrestled the front wheels back onto the path. The first few times we made that journey, I was scared out of my mind, but I gradually got to enjoy it. I would have ridden to hell and back with Dot, and I'm sure if Old Scratch had called in an order, she would have gotten us in and out of there again in record time.